regular member, and they started training her up for mediumship.
Did she take you children along, or had you left home by then? Did you?
No, we were abroad. We came back from working abroad, but my mother was involved. Let me just, before I say this, when she started getting involved with the Spiritualist Church, she had an Egyptian guide, and what else? She had an Egyptian
explain to
guide.
People about the guides.
Well, I don't know about the guide. You see,
who are these guides?
I don't know.
No.
Because
what does a spiritualist believe these guides do?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know really anything very much about the occult at all, Patrick. I only know what a member of my family who had been involved with the Ouija board, with tarot cards, told me many years later. My mum discussed things with another member of the family, not with me. And now when you see where I'm at, it's not surprising this was never discussed with me. But it's stuff I found out afterwards. My mum had an Egyptian guide, but she went through horrors. I don't know why, but this member of the family said that my mother had horrific nightmares. She was seeing snakes climbing up walls. Why would she do that when she's helping and aiding and abetting these spirits? I don't understand why my mum was going through these sort of horrors. I mean, she was on their side after all, not knowing this. I could never understand I didn't understand what a Spiritualist church was. I used to drop my mum off on a Wednesday. I used to stop for a cup of tea, whatever, and I couldn't make out these places. I couldn't make out. I thought, oh, it's another way to God, you know. You can channel in, and Mum, perhaps like these people, must be special. They've got this gift, you know. I didn't want it, and I certainly didn't ask for it either. I just thought, well, it's just another way. I just thought it was odd, but I never inquired. But then I started to inquire, and this was my downfall. It was before I was born again. This was my downfall. I started to inquire with the mum, what is this all about? She didn't tell me about the Egyptian guide or anything like that, or the horrors and the nightmares. But she said, well, come along, dear, come along. And I did. One evening I went to their evening service, or whatever you'd like to call it. It's quite vague. I can't quite recall it to mind, but there was presumably a spiritualist, a medium, standing on stage. We had hymn books. Now, this is so deceiving. If you go into a private consultation, they'll have a cross on the wall, and they'll have a Bible on the table.
King James?
We had, I don't know.
Probably.
I don't know. Possibly. But we had hymn books. We were singing hymns. It all seems...
You knew the hymns? You were
yes,
familiar with them?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can't remember what the woman said on stage, but I knew the hymns. But you couldn't make out what this was all about. I couldn't understand it. It's just, I thought these people, they're all a bit odd, mind you. I just thought, oh, they got this special gift. Remember, I wasn't born again then. I know so much more now, not about the occult. I know so much more now. I know what God tells me. That's the important thing in my life.
When you became born again 5 years ago, I know your mother was having so very poor health, wasn't she, before she died? And I know it's still very painful, but it did give you the chance, didn't it, to witness to her?
Yes.
You felt that sometimes it went well and other times it didn't.
Well,
tell us a little bit about that. If that's
I've never been close.
Mum
was always a very deep person and a very cold person, and none of me or my siblings had any real sort of love from her, so it was very, very difficult. And I think that's why I called on God when I was very, very young, as an 8-year-old. There was no love in our house whatsoever, nothing but fights. But the last 5 years now, my mum and I sort of broke away. I broke away from the family. I didn't come back to my mother until the last 13 months of her life. She was sweet, she was lovely, and we made up for so much time. We made up for a lot of time. Now, I witnessed her in the last 15 months. I witnessed her in her flat a couple of times, and what she said to me was, I said, Mum, you know, can I sort of touch on this with you? This is what it says in Leviticus. This is what it says here. And she'd say, oh, now this was just for my benefit, you see. I mean, she'd come and she was really quite affectionate and whatever, but of course she was just fooling me. She was saying, oh, but dear, I didn't know, dear, I didn't know, you know. And I said, look, Mum, I'm going to leave this with you. I witnessed to her. And I said, I'll leave it with you to pray about it and ask God about it, to show you the truth, to reveal the truth to you. That's how I left it. Now, I witnessed once or twice with that. Now, she wasn't going to the Spiritualist church because obviously she was very frail. She was not quite housebound. She had a Spiritualist woman from the local church go to her every week, giving Mum so-called healing. I said, Mum, are you healed? No, you're not healed. Giving healing on her shoulder or whatever. When she was in the Spiritualist church a couple of decades ago, she developed cancer. Now, you know, her life was miserable. Her life was always miserable. But then I had one more chance in the hospital to witness to Mum. She went in not to die. She didn't go in to die. This was 2006 Christmas. She went in for some exploratory, tests and whatever. And for 3 weeks it was like Waterloo Station in there. I couldn't get to see Mum on my own. There was other members of the family there, my son with me. And I prayed and prayed that there'd be one more opportunity, if God willed it, if that was to be, could I witness to Mum at her bedside. And one day, and it happened on the Wednesday, she died on the Sunday. 5 days previous, on the Wednesday, I thought they had a power cut. I went in and it was pitch black virtually. Fire and safety and health regulations sort of went out the window. And I said, what's happened here? She said, oh, they're all having a siesta. That hadn't happened in the sort of 2.5 weeks when I'd been going in every day. And I went in and God gave me 20 minutes to witness to Mum. And I started to see the nice, sweet Mum go, gentle Mum go. I started to see the mask, yeah, definitely, and I started to witness, and where she got the strength to say this, I don't know, but again, I witnessed about she was going to hell. I told her so. I told her I didn't have time to mess around. Remember, I didn't know she was going to die on that Sunday. I thought she had about 2 or 3 more weeks.
I'd just like to say to our viewers here, this is quite a brave thing that Vivian said. She's witnessing to her mother, as we all should to all of our parents who aren't saved. She's actually telling her mother what this means. Very brave thing to do. To say to your mother, if you don't, you're going to hell.
I did tell her. Well, I told her that in the flat, and if I'd known she was going to die on the Sunday, I'm not so sure I could have been brave enough to have said that. But you just do. I mean, you don't give up, do you? Never say die. I mean, you just don't give up. And I said to her about. I went through some of the chapter and verses that I can remember. I just said, look, God finds this an abomination. You're going to go in the lake of fire, repent. I even took her through the good person test. I thought, well, I'm not winning here. I'll go through that. And yes, and I will smile, because it'll just stop me from, bawling my eyes out at the moment.
She resisted?
She resisted, but what really surprised me, Patrick, was the fact that she sat there, and this wasn't Mum talking, that she said, I said, would she... reject this, renounce it, sort of thing. She said, I am not going to give up spiritualism. Very firm, and the word not very emphasised. And I thought, that's not you speaking. I knew that who was speaking through her. No, it wasn't my mum at all. And then on the Sunday, I mean, it got more horrific as the time went on. I just said, I will never bring the subject up again. Obviously there was no point then. I won't bring the subject up again. And we just went through the motions, just seeing to her needs on that particular day. And then on the Friday, that was the Wednesday when I witnessed, on the Friday it was tea time. We usually went in sort of tea time, 5 till 7 o'clock, something like that. Mum had totally changed. My son came in and he was a witness to this, and he actually believes in hell now, and he didn't like the way my mum looked. Her eyes, I almost say, were evil, and they were very distrustful. It was horrible. It wasn't my mum anymore, and it wasn't because she was dying, because she was frail, because she was thin. She was like 6 stone nothing. It wasn't because of that. Her eyes looked evil, and they say, don't they, that the eyes are the window to the soul, and I truly believe that, because I looked into her eyes and they were like darting about between me and Andrew, looking very distrustful of us. And afterwards, when my son and I went home, he said, I knew what this was. My son, he's not a believer. We went home, he said, Mum, what on earth's wrong with Nan? She looks horrible, her face. And did you see her eyes? Now, this is an unsaved person. This is an unbeliever.